my clinic. It's my new branch in JNTU. It's Life Scope Clinic Physio Hub. This is my contact number and this is my clinic's entrance.
Where does it begin? It begins from a guy called Andrew Taylor Still, who was an MD in the 1800s in America when we had a civil war. I think we're headed for another one now. About time for it. You don't even want to know what's going on in America. It's so upside down. Stay here. Kiss the dirt on the ground here. Get me later, I'll tell you about America. This guy, Andrew Taylor Still, he was a Civil War surgeon, MD, which meant that he didn't really have much to give people because the medicines were poisons or they were fake in that time. If you got surgery, you'd probably die from gangrene. You'd die from the infection, if not from blood loss. 3 of his kids died from meningitis, and he had a brother hooked on morphine, which would be like hooked on crack today or whatever kind of drug. So medicine didn't do anything for him or his family. I took this from Google, but this is the kind of thing that existed in his time. We have a saying in America, if something's fake, we say it's snake oil. They used to sell this, okay, in the 1800s. This is probably like a real bottle. And snake oil would cure everything, okay? I have to read it to you. So this bottle is 50 cents. People made pennies a day back then. I remember my grandfather in the early 1920s, for 3 pennies a day, he had a cream puff and a pickle. That was his lunch, 3 pennies. So for 50 cents, and you can see there's a rattlesnake there, so it must be good if it comes from the snake. Mostly what it was something that had camphor in it, that stunk, so it would smell bad, and that way you think it's something. And this oil, it relieves instantaneously headaches, toothache, earache, backache, dislocations. If you dislocated L5, you wipe this on, it relocates. My favorite one, if you are afflicted with deafness.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you're stone deaf, drop some of this in your ear and you're going to hear again. It's funny, you know, we could think like, how could people believe that? Well, we still believe it today. It's called low-fat ice cream. Light beer. Low-tar cigarettes.
Yes.
Every smoker wants to believe that low-tar cigarettes are somehow healthy. And I would love to believe that if I eat low-fat ice cream, I'll actually lose weight. So the idea of fantasies, people want to believe in fantasies. This is where it started. This was the house he used to treat people in. And then he founded this school in 1897. He called it Osteopathy. It's a bad name because I would get patients in America where it's born. They'd go, ostea. Are you like a bone doctor?
Yeah.
And I would go, lay down on the table. You do craniosacral therapy? Lay down on the table. Trying to explain osteopathy, it's 15 minutes of my life I'll never get back. They're not going to understand it anyway. If I get somebody well, they'll go, yeah, go to that guy. I don't know what he does, but he helped me. If I don't get them well, I have all the plaques on the wall, they'll go, that guy stinks. So, but he named it osteopathy because he wanted it to be different than MD medicine. He wanted to be something different. Then the rest of the history, this is AT Still. This is John Martin Littlejohn. The rest of the history continues from this guy. John Martin Littlejohn was something in the Irish church, some kind of, he had some level in the Irish church. He had some kind of throat condition. We don't really know, what was going on in the 1800s. He had some kind of throat condition. AT Still treated him, and then he wanted to learn. He learned osteopathy from AT Still, and then he opened up the second school in Chicago. The first school is in Kirksville, Missouri. If you ever get to Kirksville, Missouri, there is nothing there in Kirksville. Nothing. It's a little bump on the map with nothing there but the osteopathic school. Then he opened up in Chicago. I learned a piece of interesting history from one of John Martin Littlejohn's last surviving students. I learned about 30 years ago. There's a reason why he moved into Chicago. It actually wasn't to expand osteopathy. Apparently, John Martin Littlejohn got a little too interested in AT Still's wife. Yeah, that's why he left. And that makes perfect sense. Because osteopathy is a group of people who cannot agree on anything. Like, it could be Christmas, Eid, Diwali, and Aunt Jill can't sit next to Uncle John because they hate each other. That's osteopathy. People have different ideas about many different things. This guy then took it back to Europe, and he opened up the British School of Osteopathy, which is a great school. It's still there today, in 1917, and then it spread throughout Europe, and then probably kind of stopped until maybe the 80s or 90s. It started leaking out into other parts of the world. John Martin Littlejohn, these people were trying to do research then and trying to prove why what they did worked. They weren't doing things in university or with a lot of support or Google, SMS with your friends. So they're literally people working by themselves, trying to understand why they were getting the results they were getting. There's an important difference between these two guys, I think, in my opinion anyway. I've lectured all over the world. If you go to Europe, you'll see John Martin Littlejohn's picture everywhere in the osteopathic schools. You'll have to look for AT Still. And they kind of look at him like he was an improvement. I don't think so. John Martin Littlejohn wrote protocol after protocol after protocol. He wrote volumes of things. For this condition, do this, this, and this. For that condition, do this, that, and the other thing. AT Still didn't. AT Still didn't let people have pen and paper in lecture. It's not because what he was doing was secret. He wanted you to understand the anatomy and the physiology and then create whatever it is that you needed. He said, you can do it this way, I can do it that way, and it's fine, as long as you understand the anatomy and physiology and what you want to create. We heard that in school. And then our teacher said, do it exactly my way, or you're going to burn in hell for all eternity. The goal in school, you have one goal, to graduate. So I didn't argue with my teachers until after I got out of school. You know what we call the dumbest guy who graduates medical school? At the very bottom, you know what we call him? Doctor. That's the scary part. That's the scary part. So anyway, AT Still looks at the body as a divine creation. Picture this for a moment. I know we have different people, Muslim, Hindu, Jain, Christian, all in the same room. This guy, nothing but suffered. 3 of his kids died from meningitis. Watched them die. And yet he thought that there was a divine spark in us, whatever your faith happens to be. That there's something special about that, created. John Martin Littlejohn just kind of looked at it as a series of things to be done to a person. I don't know his spirituality on that, but AT Still, his writings were littered with it.